Good morning, everyone. This is Tulio Suragusa with Dojo Live. Welcome. Today is Thursday, July 30th, and it's just 10 a.m. A little different today. We have a guest who's joining us all the way from India. I'm looking forward to having a chat with him. Joined today by Carlos Ponce, our co-host and co-producer just outside of Mexico City. Hey, Carlos, welcome back.
Thank you, Tulio.
It's the final episode of the week, and the weekend's right around the corner, everyone. And Sumit, thank you for joining us. Sumit Khandelwal. Did I say that correctly?
Yeah.
Khandelwal.
Yeah.
All right, excellent. Who is the CEO of Xoxoday. I'm looking forward to speaking with you. But first, let's get to know you a little bit. Sumit, please introduce yourself to the audience. Give us a little bit about your background and who you are. Appreciate that. And then we'll talk about your company right after that.
Hey, Tulio, by the way, it's Xoxoday, just so that you know.
Xoxoday. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
Xoxoday. Okay.
Zozo as in hugs and kisses.
Awesome.
Yeah. Hi. Thanks, Tulio. Thanks, Carlos, for having me here. Indeed, a pleasure to be here. And yeah, rightly approaching the weekend. About me, I'm Sumit Khandelwal, coming from a small town, which is the place from where the Tata started, Jamshedpur in India. Have done my schooling and went ahead and did my engineering. Went ahead and did my engineering before getting into a job in the software services company. Spent a couple of years working as a software engineer doing coding before I realized that I'm actually interested into doing something which is more business. Went ahead and did my MBA from TAPI Management Institute, Manipal. And post my MBA, I got into the sales side of the business where I spent time working in FMCG sales, primarily selling soaps in the Indian market. Did a year or two selling soaps, went ahead and did brand management, becoming a marketeer. The last job which I did was working with Metro Cash and Carry, which is the largest retail. It's then when I met my co-founders and started this company. I personally love to travel. I've traveled almost, so let's say almost 30 cities in India. I like to do adventure. I do run marathons, so not full marathon, a half marathon. Did it quite a few of times. Quite outbound. Did some play around with bungee. Did the skydive and some others as well.
Wow. You're a bit of a daredevil. That's awesome. Well,
yeah.
Great to meet you. Great to have you on the show. Let's talk about your company, Xoxoday. I hope I said that correctly. Xoxoday. Tell us about it. What is the business all about?
I think the name, as you rightly identified, we kind of kept it in a format so that people recall it. Zozo, as you understand, is hugs and kisses. The company is not into that business, but we are in the space of digital rewards, benefits, and engagement. What we truly believe is businesses today are run by people, and people, the most important thing for any business today is to keep them motivated, keep them empowered, keep them engaged so that they are able to deliver results. Any business is run by people in three key segments. One is on the employee side of it, which is more of your employees. Second is your extended arm, which could be your dealers, your sales team, your channel partners, etc. And last but not the least is the customer. So what Xoxoday has done is we have built up a tech platform where we built up social recognition, rewards, motivation, which can be used by organization to primarily motivate any of the key stakeholders, be it employees, the channel partners, or the customer. What we realized and what we looked at when we started the business was we realized that there's a lot of spends which happen on any kind of rewards or incentives, but most of the time people are really unhappy of why or what have they got. the thesis of starting the business was, can I make the rewarding experience a lot more seamless, a lot more meaningful, a lot more easier, and people who receive it find a value in using it. So with that as a thought, we started saying, let's not do something just for heck of doing it. Let's try to solve something which is happening and impacting everybody, every business on a day-to-day basis. So that's where we started the company. Sorry.
That's awesome. So dare I say it's predominantly a company that provides tchotchke type of things, but are more relevant to the end recipient, not just a general thing that everybody gets perhaps at a conference or at a show or mailed to them that may not be of interest. Is that a fair elementary assessment?
Yeah, so that's a fair assumption. What we also do is the entire experience of managing it is kind of done in a very digital, tech-enabled way, which makes it meaningful for both the giver as well as the recipient find it value. And the second element which you build up on this is just not doing a spend because you want to do it, but also measuring the outcome. So that's something which is the essence of the business altogether.
Exciting. I want to learn some more. Carlos, what's the topic that Sumit has chosen for today?
Sure, Tulio. We're going to be talking about powering businesses with people motivation. Or in other words, we're going to discover a journey to building a full stack motivation and engagement technology company. So that's what the topic is about. Question, Sumit, why did you choose this particular topic to begin with? Let's start with that.
So honestly, I never thought that I would get into a business like gifting, rewarding, etc. So when we started this business, it came from a basic concept that people tend to gift and people tend to kind of exchange monies together, create a pool which is meaningful for somebody to give. So a group gifting as a concept was where we started the whole business from. We believe that group gifting can be a phenomenon which can be meaningful for every employee, every user to try and find value in. That's why we started the company saying, let's build a technology product where people can contribute. While that's where we started from, and what we do today is kind of totally different. As any startup grows, you understand what are the things which is right, which is not right. But where we found a clear value in was that businesses are spending. There's a need for businesses to find a way to engage, motivate people, and we realize that internally as a business itself, our people, unless they are motivated, they will not keep their customers happy. So that's where the business kind of kept pivoting to reach where we are today.
So I'm curious. Let's talk about how that's done today, right? How do I go about gifting things to employees or to clients today? I mean, there's plenty of platforms where you can order stuff, get it shipped, and how are you disrupting that? What's unique about what you're doing versus how it's been done today? Could you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So the basic problem when you look at doing any kind of I would not look at the word as gift. I would consider it more as a reward. Is fun finding what could be meaningful for the target audience. So first, there's a lot of time, effort going in to just understand what should be meaningful for the other recipient. Second, it gets into the entire process of reaching out to different stakeholders, finding multiple vendors, defining the process in which you have to deliver it, customizing it, and then delivering it. So the entire process takes, it's operationally heavy. I would look at a specific use case of the employee, because the employee would need something as a sport award or a service anniversary or your annual award. Well, the entire process takes a hell lot of time for the HRs, and then finally, most of the time these are also delayed. So what we do is we provide a dashboard or a tool where the HRs can start using it with a few clicks, and they don't have to depend on multiple stakeholders for trying to track what's the deliveries, when it has happened. And last, the recipient or the employee who gets it, he gets a freedom of choice. He gets a bouquet of options, which includes gift cards, it includes travel, it includes wellness, it includes adventure, it includes health, it includes learning. So we kind of make the whole process so simple which used to otherwise take multiple steps, and it used to become a kind of a headache for people to manage.
So I find it interesting that right now, in terms of reward, it's always sort of from a manager to an employee, right? But what if I just want to reward a colleague or peer because they've done a great job, and it's just want to recognize them for doing so? Can this platform enable a peer-to-peer reward type of solution as well? And are you seeing companies adopting that at all out there? What are your thoughts on that?
Exactly, Tulio. I think you got in a right question. So, which also brings into the journey of Xoxoday. So, we first started with doing a reward where it was all about distributing reward. But what we identified was it's just not about rewarding. It's also about just pat on the back. It's also about appreciation. It's about creating a culture which is more meaningful, where people find it good to say. It could be an employee to the manager saying, "Manager, you were good today." It could be a employee to the peer saying, "You really helped me out in the meeting today." So, how you could do that? So, which is where we built up our product in this space. We call it as Impulse, which is equal to Employee Pulse. It has a whole stack where you make recognition, appreciation so seamless that with a few clicks you are able to just exchange greetings, be it say how are you doing today, it's your birthday, pat on the back, good innovation, speak about the values of the organization, etc. So that's the entire stack of the product which is offered to organization, and they find value in using it.
I love it. I mean, it's a fantastic way to basically continue the energy of gratitude across the organization with each other. I'm curious to learn, based on your experience in companies adopting this, has there been some benefits in terms of productivity or morale? Or what have been some of you talk about measurable outcomes, right? Earlier.
That's right.
What have
Yeah.
been some of the measurable outcomes that companies who've adopted this, not as just a means to reward, the boss to employee reward, but actually what we just spoke of, the peer to peer, or pretty much anyone in the organization you want to recognize. What's been some of the outcomes from that in terms of impact to the business and to the organizations that are embracing this?
So, as you rightly mentioned, we clearly focused on showcasing the value to the organization using it. So, what we did is we built up a employee pulse or feedback or survey tool on the product itself. What we also understood that the single core metrics which defines whether the employee is happy, engaged with the organization, would be employee net promoter score. So that is a product that is within the product itself, where organizations who have been using it, they are able to understand what were their engagement scores before using our product, and after using a product, what's your engagement score improving. Is there an improvement in the attrition before using the product, after using the product? Is there a way that your scores on a Glassdoor has improved before and after? So we have those outcomes which are clearly defined. But we have also realized that we realized that people were not able to speak up. The product also empowers that. It becomes very difficult to show a gratitude because people don't find it easier to go and speak up to the boss. While there's a tool, you are able to do that instantly. What is also important, or what is also meaningful, is some of these are something you always say that you shout at someone in person and appreciate in public. So what it does to the people is somebody who's done a small work. If you appreciate that within the entire organization as a social recognition wall, they feel great, and they're really giving the best every day. So that is what it really does. So it helps everybody giving the best. It ensures that you are able to improve your engagement scores. It obviously reduces all the hassles of operations of just rewarding.
Okay, so this is a solution set that any organization can adopt by licensing it from you. How does it work? Do they get the platform plus all the procurement on the back end of all the gifting or the reward, the tchotchkes, if you will, or is it, how does it work
Sure.
specifically?
Sure, sure. So what we have created is we started creating with the marketplace of rewarding options. We built up the entire catalog of options which can be meaningful for any and every employee to find value in. That's something which is first created. On the front end, what happens is every employee gets a login, which can be integrated within their HRMS tool, or which can be through an Excel upload, or which can be directly where people or a manager can bring in some people and start using the tool. So they get a front end where they are able to do that, the elements of recognition, the survey, the feedback, and measure the outcome. And any of these rewards which they get it through a point-based system, and these points finally gets consumed towards the entire catalog which is built in the marketplace. So yeah, a front end and then a marketplace where they can redeem their rewards for. Go ahead.
I have a question. Well, before we jump into my question, I'd like to please remind the audience that if you have any questions for our guests for Sumit, please send them over to right here to our Twitter, just Dojo Live at Dojo Live. So any questions for today's conversation, send it on Twitter, please. Yeah, the question that I have, Sumit, is like this. We're talking about Xoxoday, which is a platform. Essentially, it's there's a technology component to it. But my question has to do more with the human side of the equation. So in that context, what have you seen that works better in terms of making the people at companies become more enthused, more engaged? Work in general terms. What do you think that has worked best for your mission? For you, because your mission is put motivation and engagement technology at the center of business growth, right? But
That's right.
At the center of business, there's also the people side. What have you seen that works best in general terms?
I'll spend a minute to explain the motivation. So motivation are primarily having two drivers to it. One is the extrinsic motivation and then the intrinsic motivation. Extrinsic motivations are, and a very simple analogy to this would be, if you want to build up a good physique, you can take some protein doses and kind of show that I've built up a good physique. But a strong individual can happen when he's kind of doing exercising regularly, ensuring his diet, his meals are taken care of, which is very similar to an extrinsic and an intrinsic motivation. So people get motivated extrinsically when you kind of give them a spend or you give them a reward, which could be, let's say, a voucher or a dining, etc. These rewards are short-lived. This really kind of, if I get something from a manager today, I feel great about it, but tomorrow I might come to the workplace again unhappy. What we believe is when you solve the core intrinsic motivation problem, which means, am I really empowered? Am I really appreciated regularly, frequently? Is my voice heard? And when you are able to solve this problem and solve that holistically in a product, that is where you make your employees more as custodians who would go ahead and speak about great about the organization. They would come into the office every day morning saying, I love this workplace and I want to give in the best. That is what the power of intrinsic motivation is. So which is what our product tends to do. So we say, how do you build a winning culture, which is not standing on small rewards here and there, but it's standing about on a place where people are able to speak up, they are more empowered, they are more engaged, and you are able to measure them and also identify that if I'm unhappy today, was it because my boss was not giving me right task? Was my goals not aligned? Unless you know that, you will not be able to solve the problem, which is core in depth for keeping the people motivated.
Okay, thank you. And one more thing is, sorry, Tulio, just one more thing, and I'll pass it on to you. Have you seen regarding Xoxoday, again, the platform itself, regarding adoption, have you seen a better adoption rate in the specific verticals or spaces or even geographies?
So I think for us, the adoption is across. This is a product which is not segmented to that only the HRs would use it or the sales would use it or the marketing would use it. The product thrives in the ecosystem where every employee finds value to come in and start using it. Our adoption rate for the product is weekly active adoption rate would be as high as 70%, which would be the best in the industry. People find the reason to come and see people find a reason that, okay, fine, I've done something good, why don't you appreciate? So hence it find a lot of value in using a product like this. What I would also want to say at this point in time is, while we have a product which is on the employee side, we do have a offering which is more to do with guys who are in the sales team, who are really motivated by paychecks or incentives. So we have a product. The incentives or the thoughts for them is fairly different. So we built up an engine which is very meaningful for your sales or channel partners or your gig economy.
Okay, thank you.
I really love what you've created, and specifically, personally, I like the peer-to-peer ability, because I think that is often lacking. I've been part of large companies with 50,000 plus employees, where the system was set up very formal from manager to employee, so it was limiting, right? And I think the idea of just being able to recognize peer to peer and reward each other peer to peer, it's, to me, it seems more genuine, because a peer might send something to someone who they have no motivation other than to simply recognize them and reward them, right? They have nothing to gain. There's no posturing or positioning or all the things that sometimes these rewards are used for, right? It's to motivate, right?
Yeah,
so sometimes it's not about motivate, it's just about recognizing that someone's doing a great job, and that recognition from a peer is, I think, often more genuine and authentic and powerful, because it's someone who has nothing to gain but to do that to you, but to just simply be in a state of gratitude. So kudos for creating that. I think more organizations need to adopt that, honestly, and just let people recognize each other and create that energy. In terms of culturally, the impact this has to organization, it's pretty clear. It could be pretty far and wide in terms of positive impact. What's it like in your own business, creating this for your employee base, for why people want to be part of your business? What's that journey been like? And, how have you guys adopted this yourself?
Great. So I firmly, and I think any founder firmly believes that the benefit of any tool which you build, the maximum benefit should come to you as an organization yourself. So we are one of the we use that internally. We use our tools internally. We find a lot of value in using it. We've been able to kind of understand some of the core areas where we should develop by using the product. So any of these launches we do first internally. Second, what we do is we as a company, we've been looking at being as innovative as possible, so that we are ahead of the curve. When people or the organizations have been thinking of old ideas of just doing something which is more physical, we went ahead and created something which is a digital marketplace. When people are speaking about just doing rewards or a recognition for an engagement, we built up saying that just not do that, but measure that as well. So innovation is something which is critical for us. Building a tech which can be very seamlessly integrated in multiple tools, be it with a collaboration tool which is people using in the market, Slack or a Microsoft Teams or Workplace, we kind of get integrated over there. Third, the user experience, the UI UX is something where we invest a lot of time. And so these are a few areas which really helps us build a good product which is far more innovative, far more tech enabled, far more superior in terms of the experience for anybody and everybody using it. Trust me, for us, our weekly active user base is 100% within the organizations.
Well, sounds great. Fantastic. It's been a pleasure to have you on the show today. One final question, if I could, as we wrap up. Any words of wisdom for other founders who are trying to find a way to create value for their employees and to make a difference, a substantial difference in people's lives at work? What would those words of wisdom be?
Yes, so I personally believe that any organization is built finally with people. It's the toughest problem to solve. You can solve the problem, which could be a cash problem by somebody infusing fund into your pieces. You can solve a technology problem by getting a new technology. You can solve any other problem, but your people problem, your culture problem, your reason to keep the employee motivated problem is something which you generally miss. The second thing is you always speak that customer first. It's not always customer first, because unless your employees are happy or engaged, they would not ensure that the customers are first. So the difference between a good and a great organization is all about what kind of people you have it, and all those people giving the best at the workplace day in, day out. So I think we have really looked at investing in people. We have really looked at ensuring that people are fairly motivated, engaged. I strongly believe that as founders, as people who really create organization, you really need to think about solving the people problem first, and there's other things would be taken care of. You have an investor who can just back you up.
Great. Thanks for sharing that with us. It's been a pleasure to have you. I know it's quite late there, so we're going to wrap up today. And please join us back on Monday as we recap this week's shows. We have 2 shows we're going to recap on Monday. That's at 1 p.m. Pacific. And then what else we've got coming up next week in terms of guests?
Sure. We got a full week next week, Tulio, fortunately. Tuesday, Chris Doig with Wake Ferry and Buyer's Remorse. Why ERP software purchases don't meet expectations and how to avoid the problem. That's on Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, we have Noah Labhart from Variable. And the topic is manufacturing and flexible capacity through on-demand labor. And finally, on Thursday, we're going to be speaking with Shruti Rao from Vendia. I don't have the topic yet for that particular conversation, but it should be interesting, as pretty much all the Dojo Live conversations are. And that's going to be, again, right here on Dojo Live at 1 p.m. Pacific. See you next week. Thank you so much for having joined us today.
Thanks so much.
Stay with us as we wrap up. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.